safe. So my suggestion to the ministry is that we consider having a disability grant for the children with disability. I thank you.
Thank you, Mariam. Members, you will debate in the subsequent items. Let's hear from the shadow of gender.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For purposes of record, I'm Nantongo Fortunate Rose, the Shadow Minister for Gender, Labour and Social Development. I would like to appreciate the statement made by the Gender Minister on the disability, persons with disabilities. However, Right Honorable Speaker, as indicated by many of the members in this House, we are preparing to return to school in January. However, we have clearly indicated that the education system in Uganda does not cater for persons with disabilities. It is true that disability is not inability. However, disability is associated with limited income. This implies that the parents with children with disabilities have limited capacity to pay school fees for their children to access education. We as the opposition propose that the government should come up with a policy that can provide free education to the children with disabilities. We are well aware that there are UPE and USE. However, Right Honorable Speaker, we indicate that this is not inclusive enough for the children with disabilities. Therefore, we need the government to come up with a policy that can provide free education, free health care to the children with persons with disabilities, and also the equipment used by the persons with disabilities. The high prices are indicative of the high taxes that are imposed therein. Therefore, we propose that equipment used by the persons with disabilities, yes, permission.
Madam, your seat.
Shadow Minister for giving way. The information I wanted to give you, just to add on the prayer that the government should consider helping children with disability. There is a category of disability which is mainly in children called spinal bifida and hydrocephalus. Madam Speaker, this kind of disability is very expensive, and our parents, our mothers who have those children with disabilities suffer a lot in terms of meeting the medicine and other related costs. But they incur those costs as individuals, and it is so costly, and that has resulted in them thinking that giving birth to such a child is a burden, is a curse, and many of them have abandoned them. So I wanted to give the information that is there, and therefore government should think of social protection program aimed at...
Can you sit? You are the one who gave him permission, and the minister is going to respond after. You gave your time.
Madam Speaker, government should think of social protection program that is aimed at enhancing these related costs that are affecting, that our parents are facing. Otherwise, I want to thank the honorable members for the positive submission on issues of disability, but also consider the increment that the minister has prayed for, so that we get this money and it comes in your constituencies.
Honorable Minister,
Thank
can you respond to the issues raised? Honorable Muyingo, are you a Minister of Gender?
Can I say something before she responds? Right, Honorable Speaker.
On education, please.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I just want to put right the record. I've heard my colleague this side saying that the government doesn't favor people with a disability, and I don't want this impression to members to go with this wrong information, because the government of Uganda has made education free, right from primary, secondary, we have universal primary, universal secondary, and even in this, there are people with disability. We have every year, this parliament has been passing a budget to cater for people with disability. We have in place a loan scheme, a student loan scheme. Gadgets are provided, are included from part of the money that is provided. And even UNEB, when they're doing exams, there are these examination bodies have special arrangements for people with disability.
Honorable, she talked about free education for the disabled. Now you're talking about a loan. What the disabled want is free education for people with a disability. Up to university level. It's not a loan. The presumption is that because they are disabled, they are not able to work, they cannot be able to get money to pay for education. So what the House is saying, we need free education for the people with a disability. Yes, Minister.
Information.
Honorable Minister, on education.
Right, Honorable.
It's actually food for thought for you to see how you amend. You don't have to.
I've taken a note, right, Honorable.
Yeah. Take note.
And I just wanted also him to go with that information that even the equipments are tax-free.
Go to all spheres of life, health, education, and whatever. My ministry is only coordinating agency to ensure that people with disabilities achieve and attain their rights. Right, Honourable Speaker, I thank this Parliament for the Act of 2020. That Act provides rights for people with disabilities in all sectors, the sports you talked about, the recreation, the health. And my ministry, right now, we are almost at the final stages of finalizing the regulations. These regulations, I want to believe, if completed, will make the disabled get their rights, because we are going to get to litigation on issues of disability, on how they are included, because it's going to unpack the whole act and people will be able to handle them. Right, Mr. Speaker, I wanted to make a comment on the special grant. The special grant is demand-driven, and as I talk now, we have 31 districts which have not applied for this grant, because either people like Amuru, where is Amuru? He was Honorable Olanya, the patron. They could have not applied, but it's them to make an application through their local government, through the DCDO's office. It's assessed and sent to the national level to be given money. So I want to encourage him to check. If he doesn't have the guidelines, he can get to me and I guide him on how the people can apply. I want to agree that issues of assistive devices, these are great, but Madam Speaker, I recognize that once you have been given a platform of where you can bring your issues, for me that's where I want to appreciate that we shall continue demanding. Some of our things are very expensive, but I wanted to remove from the minister shadow that issues that affect disabled people are we don't have taxation, including the vehicles. I think you see most of my colleagues are driving cars which are not with the red number plates. If you qualify to be a disabled, please enjoy it. Some of us want to pay taxes, so we drive a black number plate. But those who want to get those cars, Mama Cecilia, you are now moving from elder, then disability. Next time you will get that red number plate and you will enjoy part of what government of Uganda has put in place. And I want to say the government is hearing whenever we have our complaints. Madam Speaker, these things are brought on. And when I'll be making my speech, I have the details of almost all the challenges people brought. Mama Cecilia told me, look at the preventive measures. I want to say that the Prime Minister of Uganda, during the cabinet presentation, already talked about the border accidents and how do we curb borders, especially in the city, because there are too many. they are really causing a lot of accidents and a lot of more disabilities. And I think that's one of the area that people are getting more broken, and they'll want crutches like this expensive. This one of mine is very expensive. A normal person cannot get, because I get them from the US. So you might have to look for them anywhere. But I want to thank you, and we shall pray that the different MDAs will come on board to support disability. Madam Speaker, I pledge as a minister, this is my area, and this is where I get votes. We shall always see that we shall work.
Information.
Together. Thank you.
Thank you, Honorable Minister. And I want to thank the members of Parliament for uplifting the plight of the people with disability. Honorable Minister, much as you say that your ministry is a coordinating agency, one of the things that you need to do is monitoring of what is happening, and we would wish to hear from you on what is happening with the COVID. I mean the nodding disease. You will come and present to this house. Not for now. We need an information on the nodding children in the northern Uganda, and what your office has done to help the nodding children. We also need information on what was raised by members on people with a disability, on especially their payments, which are pending, that ought to be paid, and what policies you're putting in place. As I said before, when you go to Supreme Court, there is not an inclusion of people with a disability. Even just what members raised on interpretation, the sign language, we need to get that. And we also need to reduce the stigma. I wish you could sit, madam.
Madam, I have a problem of accessibility. That's why I say I don't even sit here. And I don't have special consideration as a special minister. You know, I'm very special, but maybe you need to give me a very special chair here with arms so that helps me to get up. But Madam, I wanted to comment on nodding disease with your permission. Before I became a minister, I was the chairperson of Equal Opportunities. I moved the whole of Kitgum, Padero, Moro, where to check on children with disabilities. And I know there's a report on nodding disease in this parliament. And the Minister of Health had even, you remember we even fought for a special budget for nodding diseases. But on the 17th, I think on the 18th, I've already been invited by the Archbishop Odama on the issue of nodding disease. I will be in, I think it's Kitgum, and we shall start the process, Madam, and take your advice. Thank you so much.
Okay. Helen, you must appreciate that we've never had a Minister of Disability. You are the first of its kind. So we need a report from the Minister, not from Health. And we also need to make sure that there is an inclusion of people with a disability. And when you look at, it's now 15 years since we adopted the UN Convention on the rights of people with a disability, and this is the best time for us to promote the unprecedented space for people with a disability as per Article 35 of the Constitution. So we need to promote and remove stigma from people with a disability. Member, thank you so much for participating in this debate. Next item.
Item 3.2 on the order paper. Statement by Minister on the commemoration of the World AIDS Day.
Minister of Presidency. Hajat, since when did you become a Minister of Presidency?
Right Honorable Speaker, I'm here to represent the Minister for Presidency. She's out of the country, and she permitted me to come and present.
Hajat, we have 3 ministers in presidency. Next item.
Item number 4 on the order paper, motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow 65.6 million special drawing rights, equivalent to United States dollars 90 million, from the International Development Association of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda Secondary School Education Expansion Project.
Yes, Prime Minister.
Right Honorable Speaker, when a minister is away, she can delegate another minister to present or to act on her behalf. But the minister who is here, she's a minister from the Office of the Presidency.
I should have got a letter in writing. Like when Honorable Muhes is away, he writes and says, I am away. I am sending so and so to represent me. I have already made a ruling to that effect, Hajat. There are 3 ministers in presidency. It's not only one minister.
She's one of them.
Next item.
Item 4 on the order paper, motion for a resolution of Parliament to authorize government to borrow 65.6 million special drawing rights, equivalent to United States dollars 90 million, from the IDA of the World Bank Group to finance the Uganda Secondary School Education Expansion Project.
Honorable Chair.
Thank you very much.
Procedure.
Right Honorable Speaker, I want to thank you for the opportunity. Right Honorable Speaker, aware that this Parliament has been approving several loans, and especially in the sector of education, we have approved very many loans, Right Honorable Speaker. In principle, I agree with the loan, but Right Honorable Speaker, wouldn't it be procedurally right for us to first review the performance of the previous loans, especially in the education sector, before we approve this loan? But in principle, I would support, because it is for the expansion of the secondary schools. But wouldn't it be procedure right for us to first review the performance of the other loans? Like in my constituency, the construction of all the city schools that were under the loans are not, there is nothing going on, and people are on our necks. Wouldn't it be procedure right to review and then we can approve this loan?
That is a good idea. And can I have first the Minister of Finance to move this motion? The Minister of Finance. Then the report will be read by the Chair.
Right, right, Honorable Speaker.
I am saying I want a Minister of Finance. Yes, Dr. Kefa.
My procedural point, Right Honorable Speaker, is that our rules of procedure prohibit us debating in anticipation. So the matter that my good friend Solomon has raised is in anticipation of a report being presented.
That's why I've called the Minister of Finance to come and present the motion. I didn't take his request. Minister of Finance should present the motion.
Right Honorable Speaker, I seek your guidance. I was asked to stand in for the Minister of Finance, and now that it's not done in writing, what do I...
How can the Minister of Education stand for finance?
Members, under normal circumstances, the Minister of Finance is supposed to come and bring the motion, which will either be seconded or not, and then the chairperson of the committee will read this report. Prime Minister.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm going to inform the Minister of Finance to be here tomorrow so that he can come and read this motion tomorrow here in Parliament. Thank you.
Thank you. We push this item to tomorrow. That is a monitor way of doing things. And Prime Minister, that's why you find, I really tell you to make your ministers to be in the House. Because now when your ministers are not around, it makes things not work out. Next item.
Item 4, on item 5 on the order paper, responses by ministers to urgent questions. On the recurrent fatalities arising from incessant bomb grenade explosions in Nakaseke district, including one that claimed the lives of 3 children in Semuto, Nakaseke district on 29th October 2021, and the need for compensation of the affected families, matter raised by Honorable Najuma Sara.
Government. Minister of Internal Affairs.
Honorable Minister, Right Honorable Speaker, I'm going to notify Minister of Internal Affairs because they're in a meeting, they are not here. So I'm going to notify them so that they can come and respond to these questions.
Members, this order paper was uploaded yesterday. And the presumption is that everybody had access to it. It is a total contempt of Parliament for you not to come and respond to what is on the order paper. It is also lack of respect for Parliament. Let's have respect for each other. Next. Yes.
Honorable Minister.
There is a law.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Your guidance, I think, is well appreciated from the right side of the Speaker. But in a very, very worrying way, we are losing time as Parliament, and before you know it, this House is going to be half empty. Members going for games, and the holiday is coming close. One of the reasons why I resisted the overtures of my brother who wanted us to postpone our statement on the COVID surge was that the front bench is actually sleeping on duty, and they want us to sleep with them on duty, and we're not going to accept that. Right, Honourable Speaker, the front bench on the right side of the Speaker should be notified that we are not going to join them in wasting time and taxpayers' money. It's not the first time, because the Minister of Finance, I wanted to ask him on this SDR. I can't put the Honourable Minister of Education, to pin him to answer on SDRs when delegated. Yet we have issues on them, right, Honourable Speaker. So the Prime Minister must commit. If they are not around, the rules allow them to ask the Speaker to suspend Parliament, and we do other business in the committees, right, Honourable Speaker.
Prime Minister, I want to refer you to Rule 114. When you look at Rule 114, for any ministry, the minister, or at least a minister of state, shall attend a sitting of the House. Where none of them is able to attend, the minister shall request another minister to represent that ministry's interest in the House and notify the Speaker accordingly. For your information, I wasn't notified. There is an aspect of notification. So you need to take note of that. And we shouldn't take this really simply, members. And the problem when we are following the rules, then tomorrow you go to cabinet complaining that I hate you. I don't mind whether whatever you say. You must do the correct things.
Item 5.2, response by the Honourable Minister of Education and Sports on the failure by MS Hamis Chigundu to adhere to contractual obligations to complete the development of Nachivubo War Memorial Stadium within the prescribed 2-year period, and the need for government to consider opting for open bidding to develop the complex, and for Parliament to investigate the matter raised by Honourable Musingu's Yona.
Minister of Education.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Atkins, we are taking a lot of time. Let's get a response from him.
Madam,
please let him first give the report, then you will speak. Yes, Minister.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Madam Speaker, this is our response. Section 3.1 of the addendum number 1 to the Public-Private Partnership Agreement for the redevelopment and upgrading of Nachivubo War Memorial Stadium between the trustees of Nachivubo War Memorial Stadium and Ham Enterprise Uganda Limited of May 2017 states that, quote, the private party shall complete the works herein agreed within a period not exceeding 5 years from the date of execution of this addendum, close quotation. Furthermore, there is an addendum number 2 which provides for extension of 3 years. Right Honourable Speaker and dear colleagues, Addendum number 1 was made on the 10th day of May 2017, and addendum number 2 was signed on the 15th of March 2019, in which Article 3.1 stipulates, open quote, in accordance with the mutual strategic benefits for both parties, best investment practices, and in line with the enhancement in the magnitude of works, quality, and the financial requirements, the developer is hereby granted an additional 3 years on top of the 5 years earlier agreed in which to complete the works. An indication that Ham Enterprises Limited is still having a running contract, save for the hindrances in construction works during the COVID-19 pandemic lockdown. The Ministry of Education and Sports, therefore, will continue engaging Ham Enterprise to ensure that this important project is delivered on time. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Next. Yes.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. My procedural issue was anchored on the fact that now the Minister for Security is in the House. I wouldn't it be procedural right, Madam Speaker, to focus on issues that are of security matter, especially the report, but more importantly, or also importantly, Madam Speaker, tomorrow is World AIDS Day. Tomorrow. I'm wondering, Madam Speaker, whether we want to go down in the history of the world to be a parliament that failed to recognize
Next item.
Thank you, Madam Speaker.
Item 52B, response by the Minister of Education and Sports on the qualification and selection criteria for the sports persons that constitute Uganda contingents to international sports engagements such as the Olympics.
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and honorable members, the qualification and selection criteria for sports persons to participate in international sports activities or competitions, such as Olympics, is by the qualification determined by the systems set by those individual international federations. Each competition has designed qualifying events and specific periods that are used to determine qualification in line with the international federation of that particular sport. It's important here to note that it is the mandate of each national sports federation or association, with the support from National Council of Sports on behalf of government, to constitute, qualify, and prepare sports persons to represent the country in international sports competition. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Item 52C, response by the Honorable Minister of Education and Sports on the status update on the situation at Guru School of Health Sciences following a strike by the students a matter that was raised by Honorable Awol Betty Ochan.
Yes, procedure.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Not intending to derail the proceedings, I was trying to follow the questions as asked, and of course the rules require that the member with the question is notified. The rota for members to attend plenary, I wanted to get your assurance that the members with questions to be answered are again considered when the rota is being made by the whip, so that we do not have these issues returned back as though the questions are not answered. Right Honourable Speaker.
I have not understood you.
All I'm saying, Right Honourable Speaker, the indulgence that these questions, as per the rules, as members who ask questions are supposed to be notified on the date and day their questions are going to be answered. But because of the COVID situation, members sit in groups. Can we confirm whether the members are so notified so that the answering coincides with their presence in the House, Right Honourable Speaker, to avoid members bringing the same issues? After all, the rules allow them to ask supplementary questions, Right Honourable.
The answer will be available and it's for everybody to have access to. So we'll advise the members. We'll advise the whips and the members, government chief whip, you advise your members on the questions that they raised and they have responded. And members, once you see in the order paper that your question is coming up, you come to the House. It's not, the rota is not cast on stone. Yes. Next.
And Madam Speaker, this order paper was circulated in good time. The response, Madam Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker and all honourable members, Guru College of Health Sciences is one of the middle-level training institutions that trains health practitioners in this country. In 2021, student unrest broke out at the college, with the students protesting an increase in fees and alleging that the college had inadequate teaching staff as well as poor feeding. The management, in collaboration with my ministry, were looking into the allegations when the schools were closed as part of the second lockdown. Unfortunately, when the health training institutions were allowed to reopen in mid-August 2021, the student unrest returned with the boycotting of classes. My ministry immediately dispatched an official to establish the facts on the ground. We listened to the students and appealed to them to return to class to allow for the amicable resolution of the matter. However, the student did not relent. As a result, on the 9th September 2021, after all efforts to resolve the situation turned out to be unfruitful, and following a request by the Governing Council, the Ministry of Education and Sports closed the institution. Right Honourable Speaker and dear colleagues, following wide stakeholders' consultations, the issues around the unrest have been largely resolved. The college is now open, and we are now trying to recruit more staff as we get the funds. We appreciate your continued support, Madam Speaker, as we work towards sustainable solutions for the college and the students and the community. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. I see the Honorable Awol here.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Where is your mask?
I have been vaccinated. So
No.
those of you with masks are protecting me.
No.
I
Put
was
on your
fully
mask.
vaccinated.
Put on your mask.
The mask is in my handbag, and the handbag is not here.
Next item. Next item.
Let me put on this mask and
Now, don't you see you even look smarter?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I know as a leader we need to be exemplary. So it is okay
First, thank you, Matt,
for
for
your
giving me.
enforcement. Now, I actually ran. I was not here because I was caught up with some other engagements. And I would like to thank the Honorable Minister for the statement made. But I would like to ask this, that as members of Parliament, we have our people. We are their servant leaders. When they are in pain, what should we do? Because the moment we go and identify with them that you are politicizing everything. Why are you politicizing? I thought that was part of our work. Like, for example, the institution is in my constituency, is in my city. I cannot close my eyes to the tear gas. I cannot close my eyes to the police deployment. And because I took action, I was properly, can I say, looked at as a bad person by the Honorable Minister and probably the ministry. And I want to tell you, Honorable Minister, even when our students are there, the issue still remains. And what brought about all this problem was the payment, the fees. Why do we put it so up high in a very poor area? Why can't you try to make this the same in Fort Fotol, in Bale, and then Gulu? Gulu, where poverty index is at 68%, you want people to pay even higher. So I love the statement, but I still think that the issue is not yet completely resolved, especially the payment. Yes, taken.
Yeah, thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the supplementary issues that we need the minister to respond to is that right now as we speak, students are back to school, but the school fees has not yet been reduced. According to the principal, she said she will contact the ministry to guide her. That is the major issue that brought the strike in the school. We would like the minister to clarify on that. When do you think you are going to revise the school fees to be at the same level? They are the same kind of college, but for Gulu is extremely high compared to other colleges. Two, right now, Right Honourable Speaker, the lecturers or the tutors, the strikes came about because the tutors are not there. The permanent tutors were not there. All the tutors who are teaching in Gulu, many of them were part-time tutors. We would like the minister to clarify, when are you going to deploy permanent tutors so that students get the quality that they deserve? Right Honourable Speaker, the issue of Gulu Clinical School should be handled with care. Thank you so much, Honourable all, for raising this matter.
Thank you, Honourable colleague. Right Honourable Speaker, the other issue is, even the bursar was just transferred And I think the issue of the transfer, I cannot interfere with, but why? At this material time, when things are being things are being worked on. So there are issues. We are only treating the symptoms. The underlying causes are still there. Honorable Minister, I interest you to work out on the underlying causes together with your board, the governing board. You should work out and let that school also be peaceful.
Honorable
We don't
Minister,
want to hear any other situation again.
Honorable Minister, you mean
Thank
there's
you.
a difference between the fees paid in that school vis-a-vis in the other schools with teaching the same related disciplines? Is there a school fees problem?
Thank you very much, Madam Speaker and dear colleagues. I can respond, but about tear gas, allow me not to talk about tear gas because I don't have tear gas. But how
No,
far...
I am asking you about the disparity of fees.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I'm going to respond, and I'm saying that this is a matter that we have taken with a lot of interest, and the ministry working with the governing council has been meeting several times to find a lasting solution to all these problems, including the issue of school fees. We've noted there were some problems. That's what I'm saying, that very soon we shall be able to come back here and share with you the position. Chair, my sister there said, how far can they go as leaders in the community in matters concerning the school? Right, Honorable Speaker, we do encourage the administrators of these institutions to work very, very closely with the leadership, local members of parliament, that they move together, because these institutions are community institutions. And you cannot go away unless there is something funny, really. But otherwise, they are supposed to be a cordial working relationship. And where things are broken down, right, Honorable Speaker, it's important you draw it to our attention so that we put the principle to order. Right, Honorable Speaker, about staff, true we are having a shortage of the staff in quite a number of. May I take that information, Madam Speaker?
Yeah, get
right,
the information.
Pardon?
Get it.
Right, Honorable Speaker, I want to thank the Minister for giving way for me to provide this information. I am a member of the Committee of Education and Sports. And the information I want to give the Minister is that in a number of these institutions, the issue is not too much about the amount of fees, but the students are complaining about fees vis-a-vis their well-being. So for them, they wouldn't mind paying a little more, but they also want to see that the fees increment is commensurate to their well-being in terms of feeding, in terms of accommodation, the toilets, and things like that. And Minister, you remember also as a way of information, there was that strike in Makerere some time back that we had to work on as a Committee of Education. And one of the things which came out clearly was the students said they were not too much complaining about the amount, but they want to see that the fees they pay is translated into their well-being. But as long as the fees, the increment is not translated into their well-being, then they have a problem. And that is the problem across all institutions of learning in the country. Thank you.
Minister, the issue is value for money. If I am paying 1 million shillings, what do I benefit from that? That is where an issue is.
Madam Speaker, let me also ask one point of clarification so that it clarifies altogether. One other area of clarification, you say too soon. You say when you say too soon, the issue is being worked on and it's going to be worked on too soon. And this issue of Gulu School of Health Science was about 1.5 months ago. And you know what students are. Why do you delay too much? And my other issue is, if these students, if hostels have become too difficult to keep students in, why don't you allow them to also be to just get their level, to get their own accommodation, and you stop taxing them for accommodation and feeding which is not commensurate to what they pay? Why don't you give them that freedom?
I imagine you're repeating the same thing.
Eh? No.
You're repeating the same thing, value for money.
Yes.
And that's what Honorable Emmanuel talked. Minister, can you clarify on that?
Thank you.
Thank you very much for that very useful information. I've taken in note, and actually these are some of the weaknesses we noted, and we are trying our best to get a permanent solution to it. But may I also remind you that when you go back to your constituencies, get to know that these institutions are managed on behalf of government by the management committees, on behalf of the stakeholders by the Board of Governors, the Council. Sometimes some of us have not been, I don't know whether you are too busy, but we've tried to bypass these people. They also need to be recognized and supported. About the tutors, so far we have been able to recruit quite a number, and I think this is one of the schools that have greatly benefited in the recent recruitments. And we are carrying out, I think there is an advert that is running, again also as an effort to recruit more tutors for the health training institutions, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister, you need to keep the House updated on the status of the school, how far you have gone, and what is happening with the students vis-a-vis the lecturers. But at the same time, even as the politicians, we should not be seen to disorganize the management of the institution. Next item.
Item 5.2D, response by the Minister of Education and Sports on the failure by the Minister of Kampala, Capital City and Metropolitan Affairs, and the Minister of Lands, Housing and Urban Development to resolve the dispute between the management of Ntinda KCCA Primary School and St. Charles Ruanga Ntinda Catholic Church, in which the former blocked the access road to the church.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker and dear colleagues, Ntinda Primary School is a government school built by the Protectorate government on government land in 1954. The school is under the management of Kampala Capital City Authority and is not a first-founded school. Ntinda Primary School is a universal primary education school and has an enrollment of 800 learners from the urban poor households in Ntinda and the neighboring areas. Uganda Land Commission, ULC, under Minute 13, 2016A, subsection 208 of 10th to 11th February 2016, offered KCCA and the Ministry of Education and Sports a 99-year lease on plot 20 to 26 Ntinda Road, on which Ntinda Primary School sits. However, Uganda Land Commission under Minute 13, 2016A, subsection 261 of 7th to 8th April 2016, offered a 5-year lease on the same land private wing to run consequently with the UPE program. The School Management Committee and the Kampala City KCCA protested to the Ministry of Education and Sports and the Land Commission, seeking for a cancellation of the 5-year lease title issued to the Archdiocese of Kampala. The matter is also before the High Court under civil suit number 885 of 2018, KCCA versus the Registered Trustee of Kampala Archdiocese and Uganda Land Commission. This suit is yet to be determined. Right Honourable Speaker, a number of events have since transpired around this matter, and the Ministry of Education and Sports will continue engaging all the concerned stakeholders to find an amicable solution to this matter. I submit, Madam Speaker.
Honorable Minister, what we expected of you is to tell us about access to the church. We don't want to know about who owns what. We want to know about the access. Are the parishioners able to go and worship? It's a government school. The church is a public property. And I'm surprised, as a Catholic, you can speak like that. I mean, it is access that we want. It's not ownership. The parishioners who are there are the owners of the children who are in that school. And I wish I was you. I would have solved that problem. Because you cannot deny people to places of worship. Can we hear from Minister of Kampala? Yes.
Clarification, Madam Speaker.
Thank you. Right Honourable Speaker, I want to thank you for giving me the opportunity. Right Honourable Speaker, the last time we were here, the Right Honourable Nabanja stood here on the floor and gave instructions, and the instructions were very clear, Right Honourable Speaker. The Right Honourable Prime Minister said, let the church access, the access be provided so that there is clear movement for people to access the church. Because this area, Right Honourable Speaker, has many Catholics. And the school we are talking about is a public institution. And the road is very wide if you do a physical visit of the area, because I always go to that area, Right Honourable Speaker. So, Right Honourable Speaker, wouldn't it be good, since the Prime Minister of this country already directed that the Minister just comes to give us a methodology or a way that is going to implement the Prime Minister's directive so that they get the road?
Further clarification.
Actually, the Minister is giving us a contra review of what the lead of government business had given.
Further clarification,
Let's hear from Government Chief Whip first.
Further clarification, Madam Speaker, before...
You will speak after.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, I visited these two institutions on Thursday, I met the leadership of the parish of the Catholic Church, and I also met the management of the school. Right Honorable Speaker, what I can confirm is that the church now has access. The gate was built, and the key is with the church priest. They have access. But Right Honorable Speaker, beyond that, there is a need for us as government to reconcile these two communities that we are staying together. This is not a matter of just debating and we direct, but I propose, like you guided, and I'm very glad you guided me very well, that we ensure that these communities which have been staying together for 38 years are reconciled, we look through their differences, and then we come back, we report when we have achieved the reconciliation on both sides. But for now, the church is accessing, I can confirm.
Madam Speaker.
Honorable Macho.
Madam Speaker, I see the government chief whip, let me use my local language, has slapped the Minister of Education, who was assigned by the Prime Minister to solve a problem. Because what the government chief whip has submitted is what I expected the minister to submit. In the English of my friend from Kasese, who is not here, he would say the crossroads.
Sarah is reminding you whether you're blind.
Yeah. The Englishman, the English honorable from Kasese would say, now the ministry and also the Prime Minister is on the crossroads. Madam Speaker, that's why I always have an argument that since we have almost a barracks of ministers, at least one minister from each docket should attend to understand work of Parliament. Because the minister's submission was contrary, different. The fact, if the minister this morning and the government chief whip met in a room, they would have fought each other. Because everybody is holding his own way. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, I want to take, on behalf of the Ministry of Education, to apologize for the minister having given very contrary information to what he would have given today.
Honorable Macho, I've never known you as being a minister or anybody in education. Mehdi? Yes, Mehdi?
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to thank the government chief whip for the initiative he took up not to portray as this side in a shabby way. At least it's something that is honorable. Right Honorable Speaker, all these institutions can coexist. The church and the school. The requirement for an easement or creation of a passage for worshippers to go and worship should not create a fuss in the country, because all these institutions are for social services. The churches do deliverance to the people in form of education, and education institutions teach our people. In my opinion, Right Honorable Speaker, if it's I think I would like to persuade our comrades from the front bench that such instances should never even appear on the floor of Parliament. To portray as though you do not sit in the same cabinet, that one, the Prime Minister and leader of government business comes here and makes an undertaking and directs. And then the directive is, I would not say there would be insubordination, is not adhered to. Then that shows that who is communicating in this government? Who will be reliable in this case? What people want are results. What worshippers want are results. As schools open up, they want a well-built fence that can accommodate students in the area and their user well-defined. In the same spirit, Right Honorable Speaker, I would like to, through you, Right Honorable Speaker, to state that now we do not need the Minister for Kampala, because we might see more drama in this case, since the government chief whip has clearly said, has clearly stated on the matter, we no longer need the Minister of Kampala. The issue we need from her is to come and show us that the user of that area has changed to an easement or to a road that is an access. Unless she's coming here to make that undertaking,
you see,
all statements that will be contradictory will take us to.
You see, we need a minister of Kampala to make undertaking that this kind of thing shall never happen again. Because previously we had a meeting, this issue should have not come to the floor. We had a meeting and then they went and overpowered the minister. So we want the minister to to have an undertaking that it shall never happen. The parishioners will have access to the church. Minister, it is within your area.
Right, Honorable Speaker, most obliged.
Please switch on.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, like the Prime Minister guided, we complied as ministers for Kampala by her directives.
Thank you.
Item number 5.3, response by the Honorable Minister of Energy and Mineral Development on the arrest of persons in Busia by some staff of Umeme alleged for installing fake electricity meters and the non-functional Umeme service centers in Busia. A matter raised by Honorable Macho.
Yes, Honorable Minister of Energy.
Right, Honorable Speaker. Our answer to that question is, Honorable Macho's question is related to operations to identify and stop power thefts, which is carried out by Umeme along with the Uganda Police Force. Tampering with electricity installations is not only an offense under Section 81, subsection 1 and subsection 5 of the Electricity Act. It is also an offense under Section 283 of the Penal Code Act, but also exposes the consumers and the general public to the risk of injury or even death through unsafe illegal electricity connections. So the operations were actually carried out to identify, disconnect, arrest, and prosecute persons who had dishonestly consumed electricity, which is a mandate of the Uganda Police Force, which exercises their work professionally. Umeme's role in these operations is to provide technical support through identification of illegal connections and provision of evidence of unlawful use or consumption of electricity. Umeme then ensures that any unsafe and illegal connections are actually recovered. Most of the operations, even if the arrests are made, are settled amicably. There are no persons who stay in cells. And secondly, many of the persons who are affected, those ones who have connected illegally, most of the time confess and they pay. So there are no harassment of individuals who are found consuming electricity illegally. There are no pregnant women who are arrested, disabled people are not arrested, but those who are illegally connected are actually handled amicably. Nobody stays in cells. 2, yes, they disconnect and they actually pay. Yes. Secondly, in relation to Umeme opening a customer service center in Busia, The work is actually ongoing, and the plan is to have a customer service center established in Busia by the end of 2021. Honorable Speaker, I wish to submit.
Thank you so much, Minister. And Honorable Macho is here.
Madam Speaker, I always take time to understand the language of fishermen, although I am a fishmonger. Madam Speaker, I want to thank the Minister.
So you've changed from being a smuggler?
You know, Madam Speaker, since my grandfather stays on the shores of Lake Victoria, sometimes I trade in fish. That's why I'm a fishmonger. You know, fishermen speak few things, what they have strictly written for them. Mr. Minister, thank you for your statement. Madam Speaker and my colleagues, the Minister lives in heaven. That's why you saw the members of parliament, the honorable members of parliament, we are keenly looking at your eyes, but you were very unstable during the submission because what you are talking is not partly in Uganda. However, Madam Speaker, I want strongly to disagree with the Minister. Busia and Uganda at large has suffered. I am not the first member of parliament to complain about the Umeme. We keep in Busia, they are called Umeme torture men. They even have brought Panda Gali in Busia. Panda Gali is being forced to climb on a pickup. Their operations, they work together with the police in a certain hotel, which I'll not mention because the owner is my good friend. But I want to agree with you that you say that when they come, they identify, arrest, and prosecute. These people, they get you as policemen, they become judges, and they judge immediately and they take money from you. Because if a minister can say in 1 minute you arrest, identify, and prosecute, you know that that thing is done in a jungle way. Mr. Minister, jungle is the bush in Busia. Madam Speaker, I therefore want the minister in my prayer to go back so that he's told in detail why there is outcry of women in the whole country. Instead of speaking from point of information and know-how, by dragging pregnant women and people with disabilities in Uganda as people who carry out the safety of electricity. People with disability are not thieves at all, Mr. Minister, according to your report. Information, then I'll continue.
Thank you. Right, Honourable Speaker.
Macho.
The
so
issue...
you've started giving people to give information.
Thank you. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, the Umeme issue is very serious. The report read by the Honourable Minister, I think the report is not correct. What Honourable Marshall raised is not only in Busia, but across the country. Right Honourable Speaker, the case in point. Currently, we have Umeme team. It seems we have 2 or 3 teams within Umeme. The first team, they come, they reconnect you, they install all the equipment in your house. And 1 or 2 weeks, another team will come, will say, those equipments were stolen and are fake. As civilians, where do you expect someone to get those materials? Right Honourable Speaker, the person will be applying following the rightful procedure, right from the Umeme offices, and they send their team to reconnect you. So, with Umeme, there's terrible problem, right Honourable Speaker. And Umeme needs to be investigated, and I pray that their terms should expire faster so that the contract is not renewed. I thank you, Honourable Speaker.
Milton, you have something to say? Then Bilal.
Yeah, thank you very much. Right, Honourable Speaker, I think the minister, the information he was giving the honourable member of the House is not researched. Right, Honourable Speaker, my people of Chigulu South Iganga, specifically 2 sub-counties, Nawanenja, Nakalama, fell prey to the same. They are conned by Umeme people. They pay extensions. There's a village called Nachirulwe. They got over 12 poles erected by Umeme. They got connected. Then all of a sudden a team comes, still from Umeme. They began uprooting all these poles, bundling up people, saying these people had obtained power illegally. The same thing happened along Nakalama, Tirinyi Road, a place called Bokoboli. People paid, they even have receipts signed by Umeme staff. Then they come and begin uprooting these poles, saying they obtained this power illegally. People are suffering, they are being beaten and arrested with a company of police. So, Honourable Minister, kindly do further research and come with the informed, detailed report to this House. Otherwise, our voters are really suffering this. Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. The issue of Meme was raised from the east of the country. I live and stay at the extreme west of the horizon of the country. Raised from the east is even an understatement of what happens in the west. Right Honourable Speaker, where I stay in my village called Chikamba A, Umeme people have no face for any human being. They only talk to the poles and the meters. Number two, the Honourable Minister, you should be glad that we are saying this one for you to note. When you say that, but these people pay, there is no option that the people have. When they come, Right Honourable Speaker, there is a cable they call, is it Sorido? Sorido, I don't know the language very well of that electricity. They will cut it off together with the meter, put it on their pickup, and take it. You have got your food, you have got your milk in the fridge. What option are you left with other than paying? Right Honourable Speaker, I have several times moved to the Ishaka office, 52 kilometers away from my home. They have no attention for anyone. I even moved with my case, thinking that it would be solved in Kampala. No attention. So, Honourable Minister, I think you should be glad we are telling you this. Umeme is not a service provider, it is a beast amidst us. Thank you very much.
Jen Kinkizi.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, allow me to add my voice to what members are stating. Right Honourable Speaker, the treatment that we see Umeme putting on our people is just a cover-up. Why do I say that? Right Honourable Speaker, sometimes back, I was doing some work for USID in Mbale district and in now Butebo, a village called Kanginima, and around Navumali. Right Honourable Speaker, I was shocked with the kind of connections that I saw in the area. And that type of connections cannot be done by anybody without the knowledge and experience. And that could be no other than Umeme staff. So they connect you illegally, then they come back, again they still want money from you and want to they disconnect you, and in a very, very harsh way, and yet they're the ones facilitating these people to have power illegally, when other Ugandans, like the ones in Pakwach, are waiting to be served with the same power. So really, something needs to be done about this institution to bring them to book. I thank you.
James.
Thank you very much, Right Honourable Speaker. And I want to thank Honourable Macho for bringing this issue across. And Right Honourable Speaker, from the look of the Honourable Kasai, the Minister of State for Energy, he seems to be innocent. And surely he's innocent. With his age, with the way with his conduct, he has been duped by the people who made the report to him. I think it is prudent enough that my senior goes back on the ground, because, Madam Speaker, I have evidence. On 12th of September this year, I had to go to Ginger Road police station where one from my area had been arrested over such case. And when we found out, I don't know whether these people of Omeme are paid, Madam Speaker. That's how they look for money. They go around scavenging for whoever is, whenever they get somebody, they just arrest, and they have powers. They have been given areas. That is what is happening, Madam Speaker. I want to confirm that Honorable Macho is not in propaganda, is just giving what exactly is on the ground in Uganda. Thank you.
Faith, Elisha, Dan.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. I also want to give testimony to what my colleagues have said. In Rukongiri municipality, we have similar cases, but it seems Umeme has got different service providers. There are those who bring poles, and then there are others who come. But I also want to think that among these service providers, I think some are thieves. When one team has gone, another team comes, takes away the service wire. So they have to pay for the service wire, or else it is removed, in a sense that it was put over longly or it was not in order. So I think we need to ask our minister to go back and do more work with Umeme to make sure we understand who we are dealing with. Is it Umeme? Are they the service providers? Are they a group of thieves? We really need to know. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Dan, the Speaker had already mentioned my name before Silwan.
There is John Faith.
Okay, John Faith.
Then there is Faith.
Thank you very much, Right Honorable Speaker. 3 weeks ago, I was called by my parish priest, and he called me not just as a member of parliament, but as a synod member, a person who represents that parish at the diocese. The people of Meme had come. They found him robbed. Now, in the church, we have connected power, but after connecting the church, there is a meter, but that meter also made a loop from the very same, after the meter, to the parish house. He was arrested, put on a pickup. They called me. I talked with them that I am not just a parishioner, but I'm also a national leader. I am a member of parliament. Can we sort this thing out? Can I come? And they say, no, you have nothing to do with this. He was put on a pickup, taken to Mbale. But they didn't reach the police station in Mbale. They reached a forest somewhere. They made him sit down. Whatever they collected, got money from him, and then they released him. It is a serious
information, Honorable. Information. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
There is a motion.
Right Honorable Speaker, I raise under Rule 57 of the Procedures of Parliament and A, oral notice of motions. And A reads, a member may, with the leave of the Speaker, give oral notice of a motion during a sitting. Right Honorable Speaker, I want to give a notice that I'm going to bring a motion to this House, Right Honorable Speaker, seeking Parliament to conclusively investigate Umeme and then come up with the final terms and investigate the terms of the agreements that we can make this thing come to an end. The company called Umeme, because, Right Honorable Speaker, everybody, including the President of the Republic of Uganda, has complained and been in pain because of Umeme. The President is on record, 13th October 2020. He was complaining about the same thing, Umeme. Right Honorable Speaker, I beg to move.
Honorable Kefa, it has been overtaken by events. I'm making a directive. You'll debate on the next. Now, members, I need to rule to that effect. Is the motion seconded?
Yes. Madam.
Members, I am not waiting for the motion to this effect. And we need to differentiate illegal connection from the connection that Honorable Macho was talking about. The illegal connection borders criminality. But now what members are saying, this is a connection that at the end of the day you term it to be illegal. And at the end of the day, the members of the public are mistreated. I am referring this issue to COSASE. COSASE must investigate this issue and report back to this House. Umeme reports to COSASE. You don't have to say it has too much, but Umeme reports to COSASE. So COSASE must handle this thing and report back to the House on the actions that have been taken, on the criminality that is in Umeme. Next item.
Item number 5.4 on the order paper, response by the Honorable Minister of Water and Environment on land grabbing and destruction of tree investments belonging to private commercial tree farmers licensed by the National Forest Authority in Namamve Central Forest Reserve in Mukono District.
And the Honorable Minister was here, but she wasn't unaware, and she asked for permission to go. And we'll have her in the Thursday order paper. Next.
Item number 6 on the order paper, motion seeking leave to introduce a private member's bill entitled the National Legal Aid Bill.
Honorable Ogon. Next.
Item number 7 on the order paper.
Members, when your issue comes on the order paper, then next time you start complaining that your matter has never appeared on the order paper.
Item number 7 on the order paper, motion seeking leave of the House to introduce a private member's bill entitled the National Sports Bill.
Honorable Magogo.
Right Honorable Speaker, for the record, I am Honorable Magogo Moses Sasim, representing the people of Budiope East, Buyende District. Right Honorable Speaker, I rise under Rule 56, 121, and 122 of the Rules of Procedure to move a motion seeking leave of the House to introduce a private member's bill entitled the National Sports Bill. Right Honorable Speaker and dear members of this House, Article 79 of the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda amended empowers Parliament to make laws on any matter for the peace, order, development, and good governance of Uganda. Particularly Article 94, Paragraph 4, Subparagraph B of the Constitution and Rules 120 and 121 of the Rules of Procedure permit a Member of Parliament to move a private member's bill. Uganda has embraced a number of sports disciplines, and each sports discipline is organized and regulated by a national sports association, which are all affiliated to their respective international sports governing bodies. The various national sports associations regulate amateur and professional sports disciplines, including sports clubs participating in respective sports disciplines, and are all regulated by the National Council of Sports. Right Honorable Speaker and dear members, currently in Uganda, the national sports associations and the clubs are incorporated under various laws, including the Trustees Incorporation Act, the National Council of Sports Act, the Companies Act, the Partnerships Act, and the NGO Act. The concern is that the lack of a single piece of legislation governing incorporation and operation of the National Sports Association and sports clubs has resulted in governance and administration challenges, including lack of legal personality, multiple reporting, and regulatory legal regimes. The National Sports Associations play a vital role in the identification of talents, development of professional and amateur sports, and nurturing stronger communities by bringing people together. But the operation and existence of these national sports associations and the sports clubs in Uganda is threatened by the lack of clarity in the legal regime relating to the incorporation, operation, and regulation, resulting in underdevelopment of sports in Uganda. Right Honorable Speaker, the current sports law in Uganda, the 1964 National Council of Sports Act, is obsolete, incompatible with the modern trends and demands of international sports. Cognizant, there is the need to enact legislation to streamline the incorporation, registration, management, and recognition of national sports associations and sports clubs, and in order to achieve the objectives of their creation. I therefore pray that be it resolved by Parliament that leave be granted to me to introduce a private member's bill entitled the National Sports Bill, a draft of which, if allowed, I would lay on the table here as provided for in the rules. I further pray for the orders to do the publication of the said bill in preparation for the first reading. I beg to move, and if seconded, I'll speak to my motion.
Members, is the motion seconded? Seconded by Silwanyi, Milton, Sarah, Phyllis, Solomon, Macho, Gilbert, Matovu, Wakaima, Margaret, by Dokolo, by Quinn, by Tom Bright, Faith, Johnny Faith, Ferigo, Dr. Nekesa, Komakech. The whole House has supported it, has seconded. Would you love to speak to your motion? Let him speak to his motion first before. Okay.
And in very strong support of the bill, but I'm just seeking clarification. When we talk about sports, people like us with simple mind think it is sports which are formal and so on. But these days, we are promoting wellness and the general wellness of a being. So I don't know whether that bill will take care of wellness as well, in which case we may think at this stage to change even the title that Uganda National Sports and Wellness Bill, so that we look at it holistically rather than thinking to amend during the time of debate. I'm just posing a request for clarification. Thank you.
Thank you. Clarification. Actually, when you participate in any sport, you're keeping well.
Right, Honorable Speaker, sports is a multi-sector activity that falls in very many categories. If you are going to change the title, it might be one of the bills with the longest names, because it falls in tourism, it will be in industry, it will be in health, it will be everywhere. But sports itself comprises everything, like you have guided. Right, Honorable Speaker and dear members, sports over the years has transformed from a mere recreation and social activity to a socio-economic transformation game changer. In addition to the inherent health and social values of sport, modern sport has become, one, a major employer of youth, educated and uneducated, a tax revenue base, a huge advertising platform for countries and brands, a forex earner, a mobilization tool for communities, a tourist activity, and one of the patriotic and unifying activities of communities. Currently, the international sports economy is over $600 billion, rated ahead of the aviation industry, and Uganda is not partaking, yet we have demonstrated that we have enormously been endowed and untapped with sporting talent in this country. Right, Honorable Speaker, Uganda is a member of the United Nations, the African Union, and many other international organizations, and is currently bound by resolutions of these organizations. On the 3rd of November in 2003, the UN passed a resolution declaring sports as a means to promote health, education, development, and peace. Again, on the 28th November 2018, another resolution was passed by the United Nations General Assembly emphasizing the critical role of productive public-private partnerships for funding sports for development and peace programs, institutional development, and physical and social infrastructure, and reaffirmed that sport is an important enabler of sustainable development and recognized the growth development, advocate for funding of sports development, and ensure that African countries develop sports policies, programs, systems, and structures. Right, Honorable Speaker, the 1995 Constitution of the Republic of Uganda, as amended, requires the state to promote recreation and sports for citizens of Uganda, as stated in the National Objectives and Directive Principles State Policy, Roman 17. In order to implement the international organization's resolutions as mentioned, in order to fulfill the constitutional obligation of the government to the citizens of Uganda, in order to unlock the sleeping potential of the Ugandan sports to the world, and in order to provide socio-economic opportunities to the youth, the state has three major roles to play, and one is provision of prerequisite sporting infrastructure. The second is funding the development, promotion, presentation of sports teams and athletes, legislation of modern laws and policies to support sports activities and persons. It is therefore the constitutional obligation of this Parliament to make laws that create an environment for achieving these objectives. Right Honourable Speaker and the dear members, whereas this House has on many occasions debated how sports can be improved, it's going to be difficult without a proper regulatory framework. In Uganda, the sports subsector has previously been regulated by a law that was enacted in 1964 as the National Council of Sports Act Cap 48. This law has since become obsolete, cannot regulate the modern game, and many Commonwealth countries that had a similar sports law have since enacted new laws. The National Sports Bill being presented as a private member's bill has been drafted in accordance with the rules, and this bill is intended to be presented to Parliament for consideration as an act or as an action to repeal the 1964 National Council of Sports Act and replace it with the National Sports Act once the bill is passed into law. The National Sports Bill is intended to address the challenges that are holding back the potential of Ugandan sport in the world and harness the opportunities available. The objectives of this bill include: 1, to recognize, register, incorporate the national sports organization and community sports clubs. 2, the governance, the management, and the development and promotion and protection of amateur and recreational professional sports. 3, to codify the obligations of the state under international sports governing statutes. 4, to prevent match fixing, corruption, illegal manipulation, illegal betting in sports. Right Honourable Speaker, dear members, the sports organizations have no resources, have no expertise, have no tools to investigate and bring to book such sophisticated offenders in practices like match fixing and illegal betting. It is also intended to encourage and promote.
Summarize? Remember, you're just seeking leave. You're not speaking.
I'm summarizing. It is also to encourage, to promote the drug-free sports, to protect the commercial rights emanating from sports events, to create a system of arbitration between the various disputes in sports, to provide a rewarding system for national sports associations, teams, and athletes who excel. And also, Right Honourable Speaker and dear members, I'm raising this motion aware that the move of this motion as a private member's bill has come after calls on the floor of this House for the relevant ministry to present a bill for consideration of Parliament, and this has not happened for decades. At the beginning of the 10th Parliament, there was the Physical Activity Sports Bill that was listed as the intended laws to be completed by the 10th Parliament, and this was not done. There has been an explanation of the lack of the sports policy onto which to base the draft the bill. I hereby bring to the attention of this House that there is already an existing sports policy which was done in 2004 and has not expired. Also, to bring the attention of this House that on the 25th September 2013, Cabinet resolved that the Physical and Sports Activity Bill be presented to Parliament for consideration with stipulated principles. And I beg to lay a copy of this document to the table to support my motion. Right Honourable Speaker, the private member's bill is intended to be presented with the same principles as resolved by Cabinet and is indicated in the draft bill presented with this motion as required by the rules. I therefore call upon the members of this House that many youth in areas we represent are keenly following this matter, and your support to the motion and the bill could turn around lives. I beg to submit.
Thank you, Honorable Magogo. Honorable Saropendi.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Right Honorable Speaker, I do support the motion, and I just want to state that sports is health and sports is wealth. As we are entertained, we are actually improving on our lives. Right Honorable Speaker, the African Union Policy Framework for Sustainable Development of Sports in Africa 2008 to 2018 defines sports as a physical activity that is governed by a set of rules or customs involving specific administration, governing body, or organizations. Sports, as you all know, is an important phenomenon that has the unique ability to entertain and also employ many youths. As we speak now, Right Honorable Speaker, 77% of Uganda's population comprises of the young people. And with the high unemployment rate, we need to look out for different avenues of employment. Sports can actually help in employing a number of our youths who are out there with talent, and yet that talent cannot be tapped. Right Honorable Speaker, I talked about sports being a health issue. As we speak now, the non-communicable diseases are on the increase, and the mortality due to the NCDs, as per the UDHS, the Uganda Demographic Health Survey 2016, states that 22% of the people die due to the NCDs. And this can actually be reduced if our people engage in sports for health reasons. Right Honorable Speaker, the 1964 bill is out of touch with the current trends. We have been in this House, Right Honorable Speaker, time and again talking about funding of the different sports activities. Last week we were here to congratulate our national, the She Cranes, and the issue of funding was extensively discussed. And when you look at the old law, Right Honorable Speaker, it is limited. And therefore, the new bill will open up new avenues of funding the different sports activities. In other countries, Right Honorable Speaker, the government does not even put in money in sports. But what happens is that there is a levy placed on either the telecoms or placed on fuel or placed somewhere, a levy, and that money goes into funding sports. The multinational companies in the country are also tasked to contribute to sports. Therefore, Right Honorable Speaker, with the restrictive clause in the current existing act, I do support this bill, and in order for us to move faster, because I remember the minister was here, Right Honorable Speaker, saying they were working on a policy. We can't sit to wait for a policy, we don't know when it will come. The ideal should have been that we have the new policy and then the law comes after. But because we don't know when the policy will come, we have to move with the private members' bill. So, Right Honorable Speaker, I do support the motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is Solo the Senior. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. For record, I'm Geoffrey Kayemba Solo from Bokomansim South, and the Shadow Minister for Sports. When you look at, first of all, I want to thank my fellow comrade and Honorable Magogo Moses for coming up with an idea of this bill. This is the core activity that this country has been lacking. During 1964, when the act we have been following all the years was made, we had no professional sports. It was just amateur, playing in, getting some chere and go back home and relax. But nowadays it's a professional that gives a lot of people money, that has turned a lot of people's lives. So we need this bill as soon as possible. Secondly, when you look at the act, especially Article 3(1), which says that the chairman will be appointed by the ministry, and other members on board will also be appointed by the minister, plus some 4 representatives all over the country, which doesn't work now. We have 51 disciplines, sports disciplines, which need to be represented at the National Council of Sports. So, you see that we need to change that immediately, because during that period, it was easy to find a man from Rukungiri to come, to find another one from Macho's Place, Busia, and they make a small parliament, sports parliament. But now, we need a full sports parliament represented from all disciplines and all sectors. So I thank you, my brother, and I'm sure the House will grant you time to go to make this bill a better one. Secondly, we find many issues, especially when we don't agree here and there. We go to court. That's not a sportsmanship. That's not a sports spirit to go to courts of law, because sports has different laws that don't fit or don't relate with the laws we have here. So the court of arbitration is high time we put it there for sports issues. Instead of going to these courts, we need a court of arbitration for the sportsmanship spirit. With that, I would like to second this motion and ask this Honorable House to accept. I don't know whether even the seconder can be accepted to go and leave, because this is a very big issue that needs a lot of brains so that we bring the bill in a better way.
Honorable Solomon.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Solo.
Thank you. Right Honorable Speaker, I stand to first of all thank my big brother, Honorable Moses Magogo Kassim, and the FUFA President of Uganda for bringing such a timely bill. I think the bill is timely. It is a bill that all of us Ugandans who love sports have been waiting for. It is long overdue, and I think I implore all members of Parliament who are around and who are not around today to grant Honorable Moses Kassim Magogo leave so that he brings this timely bill. Right Honorable Speaker, I will support it. I will contribute to it. I want members to support and contribute to this bill, because sports is life. And what Honorable Cecilia raised, the wellness, is also very important, but it is embedded within sports, because when you do sports, right Honorable Speaker, myself, the sports I do is just walking. And when I walk around many kilometers, right Honorable Speaker, I sweat and feel that I've become a very strong person. So this bill is good for this country. It is timely, and I implore each and every member of Parliament to support. I beg to
Dr.
submit.
Denkesa.
I sleep support.
Dr. Nekesa.
Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker. Members in this August House, I stand to second the motion for the bill. It's been well said today concerning issues of sports, in a manner that the first motion that was spoken was about the disability people, where sports should be emphasized to make them get to, because when you're disabled, you get kind of this metabolism, you get unnecessarily fat because you're not able to do everything right. So for that matter, if sports is emphasized and trickles down to the roots of every Ugandan in a matter of policy, it's going to help them look forward to a day when they have sports. Secondly, concerning sports bill and the wellness, it would better, I suggest, or contribute that they talk about metabolic health in detail when they're going to talk about the sports in Uganda. Because when you just talk about wellness, it leaves a few. Whereas metabolic health is more scientific, it gets the members, the Ugandans, to know what level of fitness, what level of health can go down with their metabolic indices, so that when they're doing the sports, supposing it's taken seriously, they make sure that at every opportunity, every post, we have the science, the training, the purpose of this in health, that people don't get non-communicable diseases in their life. So I support this, but emphasize that if there's anything, we should emphasize metabolic health to all groups of people, from the unfit, the fit, the disabled, the old and the young. Thank you, Right Honorable Speaker.
Thank you, Dr. Nekesa. There is a motion. Timu.
Thank you, Madam Speaker. I raise on motion for closure of debate. Madam Speaker, we agree that Honorable Magogo's request to present a private member's bill is so important. And indeed, we are so much passionate and we agree that we should have this bill for this House to process. Therefore, Madam Speaker, that we support, I raise to propose that under Rule 81, that the question be put to close this debate. Madam Speaker, I move.
Is the motion seconded? Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Solo, Macho, Faith, Minister of Education, Dorcas, Phyllis, Dan, Wakaima, Margaret. Members, the motion is that we close the debate. And honorable members, under Article 94 of the Constitution and our rules of procedure, Rule 120, 121, it guarantees the right of a member to bring a private member's bill, introduce it in this House. At this stage, however, we are not looking for the merits of the intended bill. That will be sorted out in the first reading of the bill, at the time the bill is brought for the first reading. For now, the member is seeking for leave to introduce the bill. I now therefore put a question that leave of this House be granted to Honorable Magogo Moses Hassim to introduce a private member's bill entitled the National Sports Bill. Those in favor say and to the contrary, no. The ayes have it. Honorable Magogo, please work with the relevant office to ensure that the bill is ready for publication. Thank you, members, and thank you, Honorable Magogo. Last item.
Item number 8 on the order paper, motion for a resolution of Parliament urging government to examine the implementation of the agreement for the implementation of intelligent transport monitoring system with MS Joint Stock Company Global Security.
Whereas on 23rd July 2021, government entered into an agreement under the public-private partnership arrangement with the MS joint stock company Global Security for the implementation of the Intelligent Transport Monitoring System, aware that the implementation of the Intelligent Transport Monitoring System is aimed at enhancing crime management through detection, identification and recognition of all vehicles and motorcycles operating in the country, among other benefits, noting that the Intelligent Transport Monitoring System will be installed in all public and private vehicles and motorcycles to facilitate the tracking of all vehicles and motorcycles. Further noting that in order for the Intelligent Transport Monitoring System to be implemented, all vehicles and motorcycles already registered will be required to be re-registered and obtain new number plates. Concerned that the installation of the monitoring and tracking system in vehicles and motorcycles will create an additional cost which will be incurred by the owners of vehicles and motorcycles, in addition to the already high cost of acquiring vehicles. Aware that Ugandans pay a lot of taxes and dues while importing vehicles that include import duty at 15%, value-added tax of 18%, 2% import commission of dutiable value, withholding tax of 6%, excise duty at 10%, and environmental levy at 6%. Considering that the system to be installed in all vehicles and motorcycles for monitoring and tracking uses integrated communications and data processing technologies, and as a result, there is a likelihood of intrusion into people's right to privacy, now therefore, be it resolved by Parliament that Parliament urges government to judiciously examine the implementation of the intelligent monitoring system to ensure protection and preservation of people's freedoms, and there is value for money in this whole process. Secondly, Parliament urges government to consider installing the ITMS on government vehicles, motorcycles and passenger service vehicles, including taxis, and assesses its effectiveness before rolling out to all vehicles. Third, we urge government to meet all costs required for installation of the Intelligent Transport Monitoring System in all vehicles, as indicated in 2 above. And, Right Honourable Speaker, lastly, we recommend that the motion be referred to the relevant committee for scrutiny. I beg to submit.
Is the motion seconded? Seconded by Leader of Opposition, Dr. Batua, Solomon, Anifa, Solo, Kiwanuka, Tom Bright, Timo Achen, Dorcas Magogo, Faith, Honorable Edie, would you really love to speak to your motion?
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. Right Honourable Speaker, this matter was debated on the floor of this House, and all these issues in this motion arose from the members' contributions. Right Honourable Speaker, in July, the media was awash with reports about the award by the government to this joint stock company, Global Security. It was reported that government had awarded a 10-year contract to this company to install this device on vehicles and motorcycles. And Right Honourable Speaker, immediately thereafter, there were a lot of reports about this company and how, arising out of court cases, it was supposed to be, there was a case in court in Moscow, where the company lost the case, and of course, it was facing bankruptcy. As Parliament, as people's representative, Right Honourable Speaker, we cannot sit back with such reports because previously, as you are aware, government has gotten into contracts with different companies, and at the end of the day, there is actually no value for money.
Honourable Sarah, before you proceed further, when you say Parliament urges government to judiciously examine and implement, Parliament urges government to consider installing the ITMS. Parliament urges government to meet the costs. Vis-a-vis, the motion should be referred to the relevant committees. You're contradicting yourself. I would want you to amend your prayers for either one, government to take on, or it should be forwarded to a committee.
Right Honourable Speaker, thank you very much for your guidance. And following your guidance, Right Honourable Speaker, I will drop 1, 2, and 3 and request that this matter be referred to the relevant committee for scrutiny, because, Right Honourable Speaker, as you are aware, the government has signed a memorandum with this company. This Parliament needs to know the contents, what is contained in that memorandum, and that can only be done when the committee takes this up. We've had various contracts, Right Honourable Speaker, where government has gotten involved, and at the end of the day, a lot of resources are wasted, and instead, it's the taxpayer to foot the bills. There is, Right Honourable Speaker, it was even reported that there was due diligence carried out, and I remember the Permanent Secretary of the Ministry of Works who indicated, yes, they did due diligence, but if there are bankruptcy issues, then that's a new issue that has arisen. And therefore, Right Honourable Speaker, I do propose, arising out of the various contributions from the members in this House, that this matter be scrutinized further by a committee of Parliament, because there are security issues which we all appreciate, Right Honourable Speaker. However, when it comes to privacy, because you can be monitored by wrong elements, and at any 1 minute, they will know where you are. So, Right Honourable Speaker, we need to actually look at all these. And while we are talking about security, most of the crimes that have been committed within the city, majority of them have been on the borders. So, in my view, Right Honourable Speaker, it would have been prudent first to start by mounting these on the borders before we roll out, and government vehicles, before we roll out to other private vehicles. And lastly, Right Honourable Speaker, as I did indicate, majority of us already have our vehicles. We already paid for the number plates, we already paid the taxes. To tell us to go and acquire new number plates and again meet the cost of that gadget is an additional cost on Ugandans. And Right Honourable Speaker, it's for this reason that I did bring this motion. I beg to submit. Thank you.
Thank you, Honourable Sarah, Leader of Opposition.
Thank you, Right Honourable Speaker. I'd like to thank my sister and honourable member for the motion, well delivered to the House. Right Honourable Speaker and colleagues, the Shadow Minister for Internal Affairs delivered a statement to this House on this very subject, and at the time of its debate, the opposition in the House had taken leave for matters we ably explained. I followed personally the debate, and I thought that members had duly examined the intricacies in the approach by government. And I even listened to the response by the minister, and it was not convincing as to how they had moved. Issues of legality, both procedural impropriety and illegality, were raised in procuring the company. There was no plausible response as to how we would condone illegality in our faces as legislators in this land. Issues of rights violations were raised, and the response was flimsy and unconvincing. Right Honorable Speaker and colleagues, the better place to fully understand and report to the House on the nitty-gritty of this procurement will be the House of Parliament via a committee relevant. And I would like to ask of members to see a sense in this motion and support it without regard to the sides, because it touches key issues in our country, and all of us must be convinced. First of all, there's no debate about the need for security on all sides of the House. But like the Honorable Mover has ably observed, we probably are not vulnerable areas of our security, and probably a well-considered discussion in a committee and an ensuing debate in the plenary by the entire House will give a settlement and advise government on the best way of dealing with matters of our security without using underhand methods that can eventually result in too huge costs to the country and also compromise the security they purport to be protecting. Right Honorable Speaker, I thank you.
Members, this is a very important motion, and I will request you to reserve your debate until the committee presents. I am referring this motion to the Committee of Infrastructure, Internal Affairs, and Defense. Two committees, because they are security matters, and then there's the other matter. Yes?
Since the overall minister in charge of this matter is the Minister for Security, I don't know whether his committee should also be involved. Just your guidance.
Pardon?
Since the overall minister is the Minister for Security and is not under any of those committees, it would be good for you to guide. But
the minister will give his input.
He wanted to make a comment on this.
The minister will give his input to the committee. Because for us to allow the minister now to talk, you're getting the minister off guard on this thing.
Pick of the day on UBC, brought to you by
how to get points. Just use MTN to make calls, send SMS, load airtime, buy bundles, or pay for MTN subscription services.
Everywhere you go, MTN. Up next on UBC, brought to you by
Keep the lights on. Use Airtel Money to pay for all your Yaka bills conveniently. Open the My Airtel app to buy Yaka units. Airtel Money. Simple, secure, borderless.
Ifuatayo ni taarifa ya habari kutoka hapa UBC TV. Naitwa Bella Masangano, na katika habari yetu ya kwanza, mkuu wa kitengo cha kupambana na ufisadi katika Ikulu, Kanali Edith Nakalema, amelitaka jeshi la polisi kufanya juhudi katika kuwakabili mafisadi kwa lengo la kuondosha sifa mbaya katika polisi. Bi Nakalema ameyasema haya baada ya kuibuka ripoti kwamba polisi ni miongoni mwa taasisi ambako vitendo vya ufisadi vinaongoza. Kulingana na utafiti uliofanywa na ofisi ya inspekta mkuu wa serikali, polisi na idara ya mahakama vinaongoza kwa ufisadi. Katika utafiti huo, matokeo yanaonyesha kwamba Uganda hupoteza mabilioni ya pesa kutokana na vitendo vya ufisadi. Akiwa katika mafunzo yaliyotolewa kwa manaibu wa polisi kwa ngazi ya kimkoa huko Bwebaja wilayani Wakiso, Kanali Edith Nakalema, mkuu wa kitendo cha kupambana na ufisadi cha Ikulu, amewawekea msisitizo maafisa wa polisi kufanya kazi kwa bidii kuondosha sifa hiyo mbaya. Bi Nakalema anasema kuwa muda umefika wa kuwaibisha maafisa wa polisi wanaoendeleza utoaji rushwa.
Those who bribe them. We have agreed that they
Hofu ilitanda katika mji wa Mbarara leo baada ya mlipuko kusikika. Ingawa watu walianza kufikiria kwamba mlipuko huo ulikuwa wa bomu, lakini baadaye ikaja kuthibitika kwamba haikuwa bomu, bali mlipuko huo ulitokana na mtungi wa gesi uliolipuka baada ya kukatwa kwa ajili ya kupata vyuma chakavu vya skrepu. Hata hivyo, kwa mujibu wa habari, ni watu wawili ambao wamefariki kutokana na mtungi huo wa gesi kulipuka. Na tukiendelea na habari zaidi, Wizara ya Jinsia, Kazi na Maendeleo ya Kijamii ina mpango wa kufanya majadiliano na wanawake ambao huwafanyia vitendo vya ukeketaji wanawake wenzao na wasichana ili kukomesha vitendo hivyo. Majadiliano hayo yanalenga pia kuwashawishi wakeketaji hao kutafuta njia mbadala ya kujiingizia vipato na kukomesha ukeketaji wa wanawake.
Katika kueneza ujumbe dhidi ya vitendo hivyo, waziri wa nchi wa utamaduni Peace Mutuzo aliongoza uzinduzi wa mchezo wa kuigiza kwa katuni uliotengenezwa na chuo cha Makerere ili kufikisha ujumbe huo kwa watu katika jamii. Mchezo huo utaenezwa mashuleni katika juhudi za kuendeleza ujumbe dhidi ya ukeketaji wa wanawake.
And we also want the children to be able to report incidents of child sexual abuse and child marriage, and in the game we provide real life information like 116, for instance, where they can call. We also have flyers which provide information about where the children can report.
Chuo cha Makerere kinaamini kwamba matumizi ya teknolojia yanaweza kusaidia kueneza ujumbe wa aina hiyo na kwenda sambamba na mabadiliko ya kijamii ya mara kwa mara.
This violence is the worst form of violence, and it is very primitive violence.
We recognize the school as a critical space for child protection and psychosocial intervention. We need to find a way of building this within the school setting.
Waziri Mutuzo amearifu pia kwamba watoto wengi wanaendelea kunyanyasika kingono kwa visingizio vya kufuata utamaduni mbalimbali.
Our children are traumatized, and this affects their rights as children, the rights to protection, right to secure and safe environment, the right to education, especially millions of children who drop out of schools due to violence, among others.
Bi Mutuzo anaamini kwamba majadiliano kati ya wakeketaji wa wanawake na wasichana yatawashawishi kuondokana na vitendo hivyo.
Because caring has not helped, the laws have not solved the problem. When we do it here in Uganda, they go run cross border and do it in Kenya. And unfortunately now have moved from the local surgeon to medicalization. Either Sudan or the neighboring country, Kenya.
Wadau nao wanahimizwa kutoa ushauri wa kisaikolojia kwa waathiriwa wa vitendo hivyo na kuwasaidia wengine kuepukana navyo. Idara ya ustadi wa kufanya kazi za mikono DIT, Directorate of Industrial Training, katika Wizara ya Elimu na Michezo ina mpango wa kujenga kituo cha pamoja cha biashara karibu na eneo la Natete, Kampala. Mkurugenzi mtendaji wa idara hiyo aliyepo kwa muda, Patrick Biakatonda, anaarifu kwamba ujenzi wa kituo hicho utagharimu shilingi bilioni 5. Biashara zitakazofanyika katika kituo hicho ni kama ushonaji wa nguo, mapishi, usukaji wa nywele, ambapo pia mafunzo ya ustadi wa kazi za mikono yataendelea kutolewa. Ujenzi wa kituo hicho utakapomalizika, watu wengi wakiwemo wateja na wafanyakazi watafaidika na mafunzo hayo pia, mbali na kujitengenezea pesa. Naye mwenyekiti mpya wa baraza la utoaji mafunzo ya ustadi wa kazi za mikono la Industrial Training Council, Dr. Ruth Musoke Binzika, amewataka wazazi kuwashawishi watoto wao kujiunga na mafunzo hayo wangali wadogo. Dr. Ruth Musoke Binzika aliyasema haya akiwa ameambatana na Bwana Patrick Biakatonda na wanachama wengine katika baraza la utoaji mafunzo ya ustadi wa kazi hizo katika ziara ya ukaguzi wa shughuli zinazofanyika katika idara hiyo, ambapo pia walikagua ardhi ambako ujenzi wa kituo hicho cha biashara utafanyika. Dr. Ruth amewasifu wafanyakazi kwenye idara ya DIT kwa utayari wao katika kuendeleza mafunzo ya ustadi wa kazi za mikono.
It's a commercial land and we think it can work very well as an incubation but also for business. We are just still estimating how much millions of dollars we would need, but we'll do our best to mobilize and also get partners to work with us to ensure that that is done. Because you cannot teach what you can't demonstrate that you do. So you cannot assess, not teach, you cannot assess what you cannot demonstrate that you do.
Na hivi sasa tuelekee studio kwa ajili ya kupata mapumziko machache.
Nguletedde MTN Kabode. Esimu ya smart gy'osobola okwefunira olwo n'ogisasula mpola. Nkugambye yeneerye yakabi ate nga tamanyi endala zonna mu katale. Ejjirako omuggo gwa yintaneti. Kati ky'oba okola gwenyiga *655*2# okebere oba osobola okwefunira MTN Kabode. Olumala okebera bw'oti dduka buddusi ku dduka lya MTN lyonna eri kuli okumpi weefunire MTN Kabode. Olwo olyoka ogisasule mpola ng'osasula nusu 15 zokka buli wiiki okumala emyezi 6 ng'okozesa MTN Momo. Weefunire Kabode kati. Dish.
Everywhere you go, MTN.
Tunaendelea na habari na hii ni UBC TV. Asasi za kiraia chini ya kivuli chao cha Publish What You Pay zimeshauri serikali kuweka wazi mikataba ya mradi wa ujenzi wa bomba la mafuta ghafi la Afrika Mashariki ili wananchi waweze kushiriki. Kufanya hivyo kutawasaidia wananchi kupata taarifa kuhusiana na mradi huo, taarifa za uwajibikaji na utoaji huduma. Haya yamesemwa wakati wa kikao na waandishi wa habari katika Fairway Hotel mjini Kampala.
And the agreements are not known to the citizens. Majorly the content is not known to the citizens, to the extent that even the parliamentarians have not had some serious scrutiny of the agreements whose provisions they are supposed to ratify through the enactment of this law.
And it's going to attract political interference. And by the end of the day,
it is the common Ugandans who rely on public services.
There is no way we can be able to monitor as civil society organizations and the public the management of the revenues that is contained within some of the clauses of the agreements that we actually do not know about.
We need to disclose these key contracts to the public such that they participate and they own and they actually gain confidence in government that this will finally translate into value for money.
Government must disclose the key major agreements that Uganda signed with the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Company shareholders. Government should systematically disclose and explain to the public and the mining communities in particular the revenues, volumes, and critical information on mining production.
So if the government doesn't release contracts, there is an option of going to court to compel government to release those contracts. Yeah, according to Access to Information Act.
Na hadi hapo mtazamaji wa UBC TV, shukran sana kwa kutizama taarifa hii ya habari. Naendelea kuwa nasi katika vipindi vingine hapa UBC TV.
Rotary serves all over the world, and it is very, very interesting if I tell you that I am 260 kilometers from Kampala.
Tuli mbulamu obweralikiriza nankubadde Katonda tanatuyamba kukwatibwa ndwadde
tuzwala okuzana okukola naye nakabuyonjo tetulina tuli kubi. Rotary has so many fellowships, and this here is a group of people that are called En-Routers, En-Route Fellowship, that is being formed but is supported by the Rotary Club of Ginger City.
And we have managed to vaccinate 253 people.
Now, while we appreciate, we also want to know what drives you. How can you bring your entire farm here? And we don't want to run you out of business.
Whenever there is an opportunity for you to do something different, to create a difference in a person's life, I think that is the highest purpose of life.
UBC TV joins the rest of the world to commemorate World AIDS Day on 1st December. As we remember lives lost to this dangerous disease, generations have been affected, dreams shattered, families left in disaster. Do you know you could be the next victim? AIDS still exists. Let's live life responsibly. It all begins with me and you. This message is brought to you by UBC.
They came, they campaigned. You believed them, you trusted them with your votes.
I, Jacob Lokori Olanya.
Now they are in the August House. Join your public broadcaster every Tuesday and Thursday as we bring you our extended broadcast that is informative, educative and intriguing on the issues that transpire in the House.
The state explain the situation.
We need to educate our children.
By people who are dressed like the thugs.
Don't miss The Parliament with Jamila Oluka.
On the journey of AGOA, one of the things that first happened was to train over 2,000 girls.
So there were many problems for investors at the time I joined Uganda Investment Authority. And our role was to identify them, go to government and say, you've got to change.